Hey everybody, I'm Megan Hatcher-Mays, Director of Democracy Policy at Indivisible, and welcome back to another edition of Impeachment Daily. As you know, Impeachment Daily exists to demystify the impeachment process and let you know how you can stay involved in this fight. You're doing incredible. What do you need me for? Just kidding. It's Monday, so we're going to talk about what happened last week and over the weekend with respect to impeachment. I do not think it will surprise you to learn that the bulk of what we're going to be discussing today is more criminal confessions and more mischief on the part of congressional Republicans. So let's get right into it with our first segment, which is called What Just Happened?, where we recap what we know. Last week, we had even more testimony that corroborated what we already knew, this time from a guy named Tim Morrison, who technically still is a top advisor for the White House on Eastern European relations, but has announced that he will be leaving that job imminently, probably because he's tired of being implicated in a criminal conspiracy like every day of his professional life, I assume, so he is peacing out. Morrison's testimony actually confirmed what we had heard from Bill Taylor. Remember him? We've talked about him. He used to be the top diplomat to Ukraine. He testified that there was a shadow diplomacy effort being led by Rudy Giuliani, who is best known as being Trump's personal lawyer and as a crazy person, but definitely not known as a diplomat or a federal employee authorized to be running around Ukraine on diplomatic missions. And yet. Anyway, Morrison testified that he was explicitly told to stay away from Rudy and whatever he was cooking up in his crime cave. And Morrison testified on that topic for about 8 hours last Thursday, which sounds pretty bad to me, but some people out there disagree with me, like Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows here. Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows. I'm sure you've seen these two tragic Tea Partiers who just absolutely love Trump and all of his corruption, even though the two of them spent pretty much all 8 years of Obama's presidency inventing conspiracy theories that they believed Obama was guilty of. Now, these guys are both on the Oversight Committee, so they have access to the secure room where the witnesses are giving their testimony. Remember, that secure room is called a SCIF, and it's a super secure facility where no cell phones, no electronic devices are allowed. We will not be broadcasting Impeachment Daily from the SCIF. But that did not stop Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows from busting down the doors of the SCIF with the congressional clown-in-chief, Matt Gaetz. Somehow these guys are both complaining about the lack of transparency or due process during this impeachment inquiry, even though they all have official access to the testimony as committee members. They can see all of the documents, but okay. They obviously don't give a single care at all about national security since they're rolling into a SCIF with their cell phones, so all of this is pretty wild. But last week, we found out that Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows are going to these hearings in the SCIF and then walking right on out, calling up the White House, calling up Donald Trump to give them a rundown of what happened that day. Like, what? How in the world, among other things, how in the world are congressional Republicans and Trump himself still making this absurd argument that the process is unfair when they have people on the inside providing daily debriefs to White House staff? That's crazy. No one is buying this. And anyway, the process arguments are nonsense from top to bottom. We've already talked about this. Totally bad faith argument. But Republicans are making these arguments because Trump's actual conduct is indefensible. It's indefensible and it's blatant. Like, in case you missed it, Trump held a rally over the weekend and confessed to an illegal quid pro quo once again on camera. It was remarkable. Here's what he said. And I guess he was talking about his electoral victories in 2016. So here's my bad Trump. Clinton, she was easy. Obama was easy. The Bush dynasty was easy. But Sleepy Joe, I'm worried about. So then I say to myself, gee, I guess there's only one way. Let's call Ukraine for help. Okay, sorry, the impression was really bad. First of all, it's of concern to me that Trump thinks he beat Obama in an election somewhere in there, because he didn't. But more importantly, let's call Ukraine is a full-on confession, man. Like, can you just go? Can you get out of here? Like, I don't know. He also said, by the way, that he wants to do a fireside chat where he reads the transcript of his call with the president of Ukraine. And Donald, if you're watching, consider this an official invitation to do your fireside chat right here on Impeachment Daily. Now, this background, roughly the color of your skin tone, we can change that. We have the graphic capabilities, Donald. We can make that look like a roaring fire. You just call me. You call me on a secure line and hide it on a secret server, and I will answer. So what happens next? We still don't exactly know the timing of public hearings, although we do know that public hearings will happen soon in the impeachment inquiry, so stay tuned on that. This week, of course, is recess, so members of Congress will be back in their districts, although some members who are on the relevant investigating committees are staying behind in DC to do more work. But you can still go to impeachnow.org. We have a lot of websites. Impeachnow.org. And you can RSVP for events or register your own event. Keep an eye out for any events taking place hosted by a Republican. Now remember, no Republican voted in favor of the resolution that sets the rules and procedures for the next phase of the inquiry. It was just a resolution about the rules, and not a single Republican voted yes on that. That's insane. So go to impeachnow.org and try to track them down and let them know how you feel about this issue. Remember as well, we, with our partners here in DC, are planning a big mass mobilization for the night before the final vote in the House on the impeachment articles. We do not know the exact date of that vote yet, but if you go to impeach.org, you can pre-register for events, and as soon as we know the date, we will send you a message. We will all rush out into the streets, and we will let the world know how completely over all of this we are. So thank you so much for tuning in to another illustrious edition of Impeachment Daily, and I will see you tomorrow, of course.